John Harper, Emily Harper, and their daughter Lily seemed like the perfect family in the quiet town of Willow Creek. But beneath their calm, ordinary life hid secrets darker than anyone could imagine. When Lily vanished without a trace, the town's worst fears came alive, and what investigators uncovered would shock everyone. This is the story of a murder so twisted and unbelievable, you won't believe it's real. Willow Creek was the kind of town that seemed untouched by time. Nestled between rolling hills and thick forests, it was a place where everyone knew each other's names, faces, and stories. The streets were lined with old oak trees whose leaves whispered in the wind, and the small town square was the hub, where neighbors gathered on weekends, sharing smiles and friendly conversations. It was the kind of town where children played freely outside until dusk, and strangers were a rarity. Most visitors passed through without stopping, and those who did usually left feeling like they had found something rare: peace. The Harpers were one of the town's most admired families. To an outsider, they seemed to have everything anyone could want: a sturdy, beautiful home on Maple Street, well-manicured gardens, and a lifestyle marked by quiet success and contentment. John Harper was the kind of man who inspired respect. Tall, with sharp eyes and a calm demeanor, he was the owner of Harper Industries, a small but profitable manufacturing company that employed dozens of locals. Known for his punctuality and professionalism, John was seen at town meetings, supporting local charities, and coaching the youth baseball team. To many, he was the embodiment of hard work and dedication. Emily Harper was equally admired. A soft-spoken woman with gentle features and an ever-present smile, she volunteered at the community center and was known for organizing charity drives. Her kindness was genuine, or so it seemed. She had a warmth that made neighbors feel comfortable, and parents often entrusted their children to her care at town events. Together, John and Emily Harper appeared to be the perfect couple, supporting each other and living a life free from scandal or drama. Their daughter Lily was the town's pride. At 17, she was a senior at Willow Creek High School and had dreams that reached far beyond the town's borders. She was bright, talented, and ambitious. Lily excelled in academics and was captain of the debate team. Many saw her as destined for greatness, one day a lawyer, a doctor, or perhaps even a politician. Her laughter filled the halls of school, and her kindness made her beloved among classmates. Lily was the golden child, a beacon of hope for her, family, and the community. Life in Willow Creek seemed almost too perfect. The Harpers were the kind of family that neighbors envied quietly, but admired openly. They hosted barbecues in the summer, attended every school play, and never missed a holiday celebration. They were the picture of stability and warmth, a pillar for the town's tight-knit community. But beneath this shiny surface, something was quietly shifting, something no one noticed at first. The nights in Willow Creek were growing colder, not just because of the autumn chill, but because an invisible tension began to creep into the Harper household. John spent longer hours at work, often returning home late with tired eyes that didn't quite match his usual calm expression. Emily's smiles started to look forced, her conversations less frequent, and Lily, once so full of life, had moments where she seemed withdrawn, almost like she was carrying a heavy secret. No one knew what to make of it. Some thought it was just the usual stress of raising a teenager, the kind of growing pains every family faces. Others whispered that John's business had hit a rough patch, that the once thriving Harper Industries was struggling behind closed doors. But the Harpers never confirmed or denied any rumors. They kept their doors shut and their lives private. The neighbors respected their privacy, as always, but a subtle unease began to settle over the town. Willow Creek was a place built on trust and familiarity, and when something seemed off with the Harpers, it felt like a warning sign. People exchanged concerned glances and some tried to offer help, but the Harpers politely declined. Despite the growing tension, the town held on to the hope that everything was fine. After all, this was the Harper family, the perfect family. The kind of family that bad things simply didn't happen to. As autumn gave way to early winter, the atmosphere in Willow Creek grew heavier. Days grew shorter, and the once vibrant leaves turned to dull browns and yellows. The town prepared for the holidays with its usual cheer, but for the Harpers, the season brought no joy. Inside their elegant home, the walls seemed to close in, tighter. The laughter was rare, the smiles fleeting. One evening as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in deep shades of orange and purple, Lily sat by her bedroom window, staring out at the darkening world. Her thoughts were distant, tangled in worries she didn't share with anyone. The dreams she once held tightly felt fragile now, like glass ready to shatter. She thought about the expectations that weighed on her family, her school, the future everyone imagined for her. But somewhere inside a storm was building, one she couldn't escape. The town's clock tower chimed softly in the distance, its sound a reminder that time was moving forward, even if the Harpers felt trapped in place. Outside, neighbors went about their routines, unaware of the silent crisis unfolding behind the Harpers' closed doors. That night, no one suspected that this peaceful town was on the brink of a tragedy so dark, so unimaginable, it would shatter everything everyone believed about safety and trust. The Harper family, the town's pride and joy, was about to become the center of a mystery that would haunt Willow Creek forever. What happened in the days that followed would shock everyone, revealing a side of the Harpers no one saw coming. The story of the perfect family was about to unravel in the most chilling way imaginable, shaking a community to its core and changing the lives of everyone involved. Willow Creek would never be the same again. The night Lily Harper disappeared began like any other in Willow Creek, calm and quiet. The town was settling into its usual rhythm, porch lights glowing softly, the occasional bark of a dog, and the rustling of leaves carried by a gentle breeze. But for the Harpers, this night would mark the start of a nightmare no one could have foreseen. Lily had planned to visit a close friend's house, a small walk away through familiar streets she had traveled countless times before. She left shortly after dinner, dressed casually, her backpack slung over one shoulder, her mind full of teenage worries and dreams. The walk was short, and on any other night it would have been uneventful. But that night she never arrived. Hours passed. The friend's family called Lily's parents when she didn't show up. Emily and John Harper's initial worry turned to panic. They immediately called the police and began searching themselves, retracing the route Lily would have taken. Neighbors joined in, their flashlights piercing the darkness as they called her name. The search stretched into the early morning hours, but Lily was nowhere to be found. The town quickly became gripped with fear and confusion. For a place like Willow Creek, where the biggest worry was usually a broken fence or a lost pet, a missing teenager was almost unheard of. The police launched a full investigation, treating the disappearance as a potential abduction. Officers interviewed neighbors, friends, and anyone who might have seen something unusual that night. But every lead was a dead end. Days turned into weeks, and the town's hope began to wither. Posters with Lily's smiling face appeared on every lamppost and storefront. Community members organized search parties that combed through the forests, fields, and abandoned areas surrounding Willow Creek. But nothing was found. It was as if Lily had vanished into thin air. The Harpers' once bright home became a place of unbearable silence and sorrow. John stopped going to work as often, his face growing darker with each passing day. Emily hardly left the house, her eyes red from endless tears. The town's sympathy was immense, but it was mixed with growing curiosity and unease. People whispered behind closed doors, wondering if there was more to the story than met the eye. Some neighbors recalled hearing raised voices from the Harper house in the days before Lily disappeared, unusual for a family known for their calm demeanor. Others noticed that John's business was facing difficulties, with fewer orders and worried employees. Rumors began to spread like wildfire, fueled by the sudden silence from the Harpers themselves. They no longer attended community events or answered calls from friends. The police continued their investigation tirelessly. They checked security cameras along the route Lily was supposed to take, but found no clear images of her or any suspicious vehicles. Cell phone records showed her phone was turned off the night she disappeared, and it was never recovered. The mystery deepened, and frustration grew among the officers and the town's people alike. Despite the tragedy, some residents felt uneasy about the Harper family's grief. Their expressions, though filled with sorrow, sometimes seemed rehearsed. On a few occasions, witnesses claimed to have seen John leaving the house late at night, driving to unknown locations and returning early morning. Emily was spotted taking long drives alone, her face unreadable. These strange behaviors sparked suspicion. Could they be hiding something? If so, what? The tension in Willow Creek was palpable. The police were under pressure to solve the case, but without solid evidence, their hands were tied. The media caught wind of the story, and soon reporters from nearby cities arrived, turning the small town into a spotlight for tragedy and speculation. The Harpers, once private and respected, were now under intense public scrutiny. Meanwhile, Lily's friends struggled to come to terms with her absence. School halls felt empty without her laughter, and the debate team postponed activities. Teachers and classmates held vigils, but no amount of candlelight could pierce the dark cloud hanging over Willow Creek. In the weeks after Lily disappeared, the town's mood shifted from hopeful to fearful. Parents grew anxious about their own children walking home alone. Strangers were eyed with suspicion. Willow Creek, once a symbol of safety, now felt fragile and vulnerable. Then, a strange development arose. A local man, known for his habit of wandering the woods with his dog, reported seeing a figure late at night near an abandoned cabin several miles from town. The description matched Lily's, but when authorities searched the area, they found nothing. Some dismissed it as a trick of the mind, others clung to it as the last thread of hope. Around this time, a disturbing letter arrived at the police station. It was unsigned, but claimed that the Harpers knew more about Lily's disappearance than they let on. The letter suggested that the family's perfect image was a facade, hiding secrets that could explain what happened to Lily. The letter was cryptic, but enough to raise new questions and deepen suspicion. the police decided to increase their surveillance on the Harper household, hoping to catch any sign of foul play. For the first time, officers began watching the family's movements closely, taking notes on every unusual activity. The investigation was no longer just about finding Lily. It had become a hunt for the truth behind the Harper family's mysterious silence. Days later, a crucial break came from an unexpected source. A local teenager, out late walking his dog, stumbled upon a small hidden path leading deep into the forest. Following it out of curiosity, he found a torn piece of fabric snagged on a branch, bright pink matching the color of a jacket Lily was known to wear. He turned it over to the police, and forensic experts began analyzing it immediately. The discovery sparked renewed hope. Was this a clue left behind by Lily, or evidence of something more sinister? The forest was searched again, this time with more urgency and precision. Yet the deeper they looked, the more tangled the mystery became. The fabric was the first physical sign of Lily's presence since that fateful night, but it did little to explain how she disappeared or who was responsible. The police focused on the Harper family's involvement, examining financial records, personal communications, and social circles. The cracks in the Harpers' perfect facade were widening, revealing tensions that many had suspected but never dared to voice. Behind closed doors, the Harpers were unraveling. The pressure of grief, suspicion, and media attention took a toll. Neighbors reported late-night arguments, hurried trips out of town, and visits from unknown people. The family's actions no longer matched their once spotless reputation. The search stretched on. The town remained on edge. Every new piece of information raised more questions than answers. The disappearance of Lily Harper became more than a tragedy. It was a puzzle that challenged the very idea of trust in Willow Creek. In the hearts of many, a grim thought began to take hold. Perhaps the perfect family was hiding something so terrible that no one wanted to believe it. And maybe, just maybe, the truth would be far darker than anyone ever imagined. The discovery of Lily's remains changed everything. It was a cold morning when two hunters, wandering through the dense woods on the outskirts of Willow Creek, stumbled upon something that would shatter the fragile peace the town still clung to. Hidden beneath a thin layer of earth and fallen leaves was a shallow grave, hastily covered but impossible to miss once found. The men called the police immediately, their voices trembling with shock. When the authorities arrived, the grim task of identification began. Forensic experts worked meticulously, piecing together the fragments of a tragic story buried beneath the soil. It didn't take long for the team to confirm the identity. The remains were indeed those of Lily Harper. The news spread like wildfire, igniting grief and horror across the entire community. The official cause of death was not immediately clear. The body showed signs of trauma, but there was no single obvious cause such as a gunshot or stab wound. The experts suggested it was likely a result of multiple injuries, indicating a violent struggle. The investigation, which had begun as a missing person case, now transformed into a murder inquiry. The peaceful town of Willow Creek was suddenly the setting of a chilling crime. The atmosphere grew darker. People who had once offered sympathy now whispered doubts and fears. The question on everyone's mind was no longer, "Where is Lily?" but "Who did this to her?" The police intensified their efforts, combing through evidence, re-interviewing witnesses, and digging into the lives of everyone connected to Lily. The pressure on the Harper family became unbearable. Investigators soon turned their attention to John Harper. His company's recent troubles became more than just a rumor. Financial records revealed he was drowning in debt. Unexpected expenses, poor investments, and a drop in business had left John desperate. Perhaps the stress of his failing business had led to reckless decisions. But there was more to uncover. It came to light that John had recently taken out a large life insurance policy on Lily, worth a sum that could have saved his sinking company. This revelation cast a sinister shadow over the family. Was the perfect father capable of something so cold? The town struggled to reconcile the image of John Harper, the respected businessman, with the possibility of a man who might harm his own child for money. Emily Harper's role also came under scrutiny. Neighbors reported seeing her in unusual places at odd hours, places she had never been before, like downtown motels and deserted parking lots. It was unclear why she went there, but the secrecy raised suspicions. Friends who once spoke fondly of her now questioned what she might be hiding. Her tear-streaked face in news interviews didn't convince everyone. Some believed she was playing a part. Inside the Harper household, the tension was palpable. The family's once neat and cheerful home now felt cold and empty. Investigators noted that the house showed signs of chaos, broken furniture, scattered belongings, and locked rooms. It was as if a storm had passed through, leaving nothing untouched. The police speculated that these were signs of desperation and fear, but no one knew for sure what had happened behind closed doors. One breakthrough came from digital evidence. Investigators uncovered deleted messages from John's phone, hidden deep within the device's memory. The texts hinted at secret meetings, hurried plans, and a growing desperation. Among these were cryptic references to a job that had to be done quickly and quietly. But the messages didn't specify what that job was, leaving detectives to piece together their meaning. Emily's phone also revealed a hidden side to her life. Photos and emails suggested she was communicating with someone unknown, someone who seemed to be coordinating actions on her behalf. This person was later identified as a man with a criminal record, a hired hand of sorts. The connection was startling. Why would Emily be involved with someone like this? What was she planning? Or trying to cover up? As the investigation deepened, the police began to suspect that Lily's death was not just a tragic accident or a random act of violence, but part of a calculated plan gone terribly wrong. The couple's financial desperation and secretive behavior hinted at something more sinister than anyone had dared imagine. The town's opinion began to shift dramatically. Where once there was pity for the Harpers, there was now a growing anger and suspicion. The family that had once seemed untouchable was now at the center of a dark scandal. The media frenzy intensified, reporters digging into every detail of the Harpers' lives and airing rumors that shook the community's trust to its core. Still, despite the mounting evidence and public pressure, the police had no clear motive or definitive proof tying either John or Emily directly to the crime. Both maintained their innocence through their lawyers, though their silence during interrogations spoke volumes. The case was becoming a battle of shadows, with truth buried beneath layers of lies and fear. One particularly disturbing detail came from an unexpected source. A neighbor who claimed to have seen a suspicious vehicle near the Harper property in the days before Lily's disappearance. The car was described as a dark sedan, unfamiliar to the neighborhood. It was never registered to anyone in Willow Creek. The police tracked down several leads, but the car and its driver remained elusive. Rumors began circulating that the dark sedan was linked to an organized crime group involved in illegal activities around the county. Was Lily's murder connected to something bigger than the Harper family, or was it simply a cover-up for a private tragedy? The questions mounted, but answers were scarce. Meanwhile, the Harpers' once close friends distanced themselves. Invitations stopped coming, and phone calls went unanswered. The family was isolated, trapped in a growing web of suspicion and sorrow. The community, struggling to understand the horror that had unfolded, found it easier to believe the worst than to cling to the innocence that had once defined their town. Days turned into weeks, and the case remained unsolved. The investigators, frustrated but determined, kept digging. Each new piece of evidence raised more questions than it answered. The Harper family's dark secrets were slowly being pulled into the light, revealing a complex and twisted story of desperation, betrayal, and tragedy. And yet, no one could predict the most shocking twist was still to come, one that would turn the entire case on its head and force Willow Creek to question everything they thought they knew about the Harpers. The investigation into Lily Harper's murder was already intense, but what came next sent shockwaves through Willow Creek like nothing before. The police, following a tip from an anonymous source, decided to search the Harper family's home one more time, this time with a fresh set of eyes and specialized forensic teams. What they found would change the course of the case and reveal secrets that no one in town could have imagined. Hidden beneath the floorboards of the Harpers' living room was a small, locked metal box. It had been expertly concealed, its cover blending seamlessly with the worn wood beneath the carpet. When the box was finally pried open, the contents stunned everyone. Inside were dozens of photographs, journal entries, and documents detailing a secret life the family had kept hidden from the town. The photographs showed images of people nobody in Willow Creek recognized, places far away from the quiet streets of the town, and some of the pictures were chilling. Blurry, dark, and showing shadows or figures in threatening situations. The journals revealed a side of John and Emily that contrasted sharply with their public image. Pages were filled with fears, threats, and confessions of mistakes made in desperation. The tone shifted from hope to guilt, panic, and increasingly, dark thoughts. One journal entry, dated just days before Lily's disappearance, described a plan to fake a kidnapping in order to claim an insurance payout and settle John's debts. The entry hinted at a deal made with a dangerous stranger to help carry out the scheme. The plan was to scare the town, gain sympathy, and then bring Lily home safe after the money was secured. But, as the journal warned, things can go wrong fast. The revelation that Lily's disappearance might have been staged was a blow to the community. Many residents felt betrayed and horrified. The family they had trusted and admired was now linked to a cruel and calculated fraud. But the worst was yet to come. Further investigation showed inconsistencies in John and Emily's statements. Both had lied about their whereabouts on the night Lily disappeared. Their alibis didn't hold up under scrutiny. Surveillance footage, security system logs, and phone records painted a picture of a coordinated effort to hide the truth. The police also found traces of a second person involved, someone who had been inside the Harper home the night of Lily's disappearance and had left without being noticed. This person's identity remained a mystery for weeks, but the evidence indicated they played a key role in the tragic events. Adding to the mystery, the investigators uncovered a hidden room in the basement of the Harper house. It was a small, soundproofed space with signs that it had been used recently. Inside, they found bloodstains and remnants of what appeared to be a struggle. Forensic analysis confirmed the blood matched Lily's DNA. The discovery raised terrifying questions. Had Lily been held captive there? Was she harmed in that very room? And who else knew about this secret space? The police were now convinced that Lily's death was no accident. The carefully planned scheme had spiraled out of control, and someone had paid the ultimate price. But while the evidence mounted, the Harper family remained silent, refusing to cooperate fully with investigators. The community's anger grew. Many began to distance themselves from the family entirely. Some demanded justice. Others wanted answers that the police were struggling to find. The media frenzy intensified, with reporters uncovering more details and speculating about every possible motive. Amid the chaos, another startling piece of evidence emerged. An old receipt found in John's desk drawer showed a large payment to a mysterious company just days before Lily disappeared. This company specialized in disappearance services, a euphemism for helping people vanish without a trace. The payment was too big to ignore, and it suggested John had planned for more than just a fake kidnapping. The police widened their investigation to include this company, searching for any connections to the Harper family or their associates. The trail led to a shadowy network of people who operated in the gray areas of the law, helping clients cover up crimes or start new lives under new identities. The realization was chilling. Had the Harpers planned to erase Lily's existence completely? Was her murder part of a plot to disappear forever, or was it an unintended consequence of a desperate plan? As the investigation unraveled, the pressure on the Harper family became unbearable. Emily was arrested after trying to flee town, and John was taken into custody for questioning. Both faced charges related to fraud and obstruction of justice, but the murder charge remained elusive due to lack of direct evidence. The court of public opinion, however, had already made its judgment. The Harpers were no longer victims of tragedy, but suspects in a cold, calculated crime. Their story was no longer about a missing daughter, but about the destruction of a family and the shattering of a community's trust. Yet, despite all the evidence and accusations, the truth was still incomplete. Questions lingered. Who was the mysterious accomplice? What really happened the night Lily died? And could the Harpers' darkest secrets reveal even more surprises? As the town of Willow Creek struggled to come to terms with the horror that had unfolded, one thing became clear. Nothing would ever be the same again. The perfect family's facade had cracked wide open, exposing a story far more disturbing than anyone could have imagined. The mystery was far from over, and the final, shocking revelations were still to come. The investigation was reaching a critical point. Months of digging, questioning, and analyzing had uncovered layers of secrets, but the full truth behind Lily Harper's murder remained frustratingly out of reach. The community watched anxiously, desperate for closure, while the police continued their tireless pursuit of justice. What no one expected was that the final twist would come from the last place anyone thought to look. A small, overlooked detail buried in the Harper family's own past. During a routine search of the family's computer files, investigators found encrypted messages between John Harper and an unknown contact. After days of careful decoding, the messages revealed a shocking secret. The accomplice involved in Lily's disappearance was not a stranger or hired criminal, but someone very close to the Harpers, their eldest son, Michael. Michael Harper had always been a quiet and somewhat withdrawn teenager, overshadowed by the bright and outgoing Lily. Few in town knew much about him, and those who did often assumed he was simply shy or introverted. But the messages revealed a darker reality. Michael had been involved in secret dealings with the mysterious company John had paid, and he had been part of the plan to fake Lily's kidnapping. What the family had tried to hide was a web of jealousy, resentment, and fear that had been building beneath the surface for years. Michael's feelings of neglect and anger toward his sister and parents had grown to a dangerous level. The plan, originally meant to be a temporary stunt to gain sympathy and money, spiraled out of control because of his involvement. The encrypted messages detailed how Michael had been tasked with holding Lily captive in the hidden basement room. But something went terribly wrong. The journals, photographs, and blood evidence all pointed to a struggle. Michael's resentment had boiled over, resulting in Lily's accidental death during a heated confrontation. Panicked and desperate, John and Emily covered up the crime, hoping to protect their son and salvage their own lives. The revelation sent shockwaves through Willow Creek. The town was stunned to learn that the quiet boy they had barely noticed was at the center of the tragedy. The perfect family image was shattered completely, replaced by a story of betrayal, desperation, and tragedy that no one could have predicted. Michael was taken into custody, and under intense questioning, he confessed to his role in Lily's death. His testimony painted a heartbreaking picture of a boy overwhelmed by jealousy and loneliness, caught in a terrible situation he could no longer control. He described the moments leading to the fatal struggle, his regret, and the panic that followed. John and Emily faced charges not only for fraud and obstruction, but also for conspiracy to cover up the murder. The community's outrage was palpable, but many also felt a deep sadness for a family torn apart by secrets and mistakes. As the trial unfolded, more disturbing details emerged. Investigators discovered that Michael had been involved in minor criminal activities for months before the incident, including theft and drug use. The family had tried to hide these problems, fearing the stigma and consequences. The pressure to maintain appearances had only deepened the cracks in their lives. Despite the tragic circumstances, some in the town expressed sympathy for Michael, seeing him as a troubled youth overwhelmed by circumstances beyond his control. Others demanded justice for Lily, refusing to let the family's pain excuse the crime. Throughout the legal proceedings, the Harpers remained a symbol of the dangers of hidden secrets and the devastating consequences of desperation. Their story was a grim reminder that appearances could be deceiving, and even the most perfect families could harbor dark truths. In the end, Michael was sentenced to a juvenile facility with counseling and rehabilitation programs. John and Emily received lengthy prison sentences for their roles in the cover-up and financial crimes. The community struggled to heal but remained haunted by the events that had unfolded in their midst. The final shocking truth that the person responsible for the murder was a member of the Harper family forced Willow Creek to confront painful questions about trust, family, and the masks people wear. It was a story that no one wanted to believe, but could no longer deny. Lily Harper's life, though tragically cut short, became a symbol of a town's struggle with darkness beneath the surface. Her memory inspired efforts to support troubled youth and families, aiming to prevent similar tragedies in the future. As the years passed, Willow Creek slowly moved forward, carrying the scars of what had happened. The Harper story remained a cautionary tale, a chilling reminder that sometimes the most shocking murders are not committed by strangers, but by those closest to home.